Hi, Jane Velez-Mitchell with Jane on Jane Lunch Break Live, and I am so excited. This is really a personal treat for me. Erin Dunphy, who I've known since you were very young, because I used to anchor the news with your dad, Jerry Dunphy.
Yeah.
There is a legend in Los Angeles and the nation as a news anchor, and I was so privileged and honored to be his co-anchor at KCAL 9 for many years. I was there 12 years, and I saw you grow up. Then we ran into each other at the 30th anniversary of KCAL 9, and I found out you were a vegan, I'm a vegan, and here we are celebrating a compassionate vegan world. So welcome. With that introduction, I know you are a holistic health coach. Tell us all about what you're making and your life.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually been vegan now for 16 years, gluten-free for about 11. And it's honestly been the best education, best compassionate journey, best journey into health and wellness as possible. And I'm just so grateful to be here today, Jane. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you.
Today, I'm going to be making a coconut curry lentil soup, and I'm adding mushrooms. So you've got some extra protein in there. So I've got my bowl of spinach that I have ready here to show you, and I've just chopped it roughly because it'll all cook down once it's in there. And I've got some tomatoes, lots of good stuff. We've got ginger. So good. And garlic, amazing for the immune system. So we're going to toss all of that together. So I'm going to actually bring you a little closer. So let's bring you closer so you can see what we're doing over here. So
okay.
Okay. So what you'll do is you'll want to put it on low heat. And just let it kind of simmer and cook. So I'm going to start off with some organic coconut oil. Super simple. I already portioned everything out so it's easier, but I will have the recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And I'm going to scoop this in here, as you'll see. And it's, as it gets warmer, it'll separate and melt down. So I may actually just go ahead and grab some from here. So it hardens while I was waiting.
And this is perfect for the fall, for the autumn.
So good. So good. It's amazing. It's so filling. My son absolutely loves this. So for anybody who's trying to find family-friendly recipes and something that their kids will eat, this is it. And then you'll just...
And it's packed with protein.
Packed with protein. Absolutely. Packed with protein. So I'm going to get this out of there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little mirepoix. Our base is going to be ginger, finely chopped. So
okay.
Ginger in. And then garlic also. I prefer, I don't know about you, but I am a garlic freak.
Yes, I love garlic in everything. It's also good, in these times where we want to stay healthy with superfoods, etc. I'm always popping garlic into everything, not to mention onions, etc.
Me too. Yes. So I would say I'm okay with bigger chunks of garlic, but if you're not, or you're not like us, then I would say mince it very finely. And that is what I have done here, so you can see. And then I'm going to bring you over to the stove in a moment once I get these ingredients in here. And then you'll just start to stir it all around. Now, the other thing that you'll add first too, and you'll cook these until they become translucent, are onions. Now, I would either use two small or a large onion. And it's up to you. You can do sweet or you can do white. It's really your preference, but this is kind of what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop those in.
Mm-hmm.
And drop them in. everything all in there. So I'm gonna unplug and bring you over.
Okay, and while you do that, I'll talk a little bit about the old days. I was born and raised in Midtown Manhattan, but I always liked LA. I fell in love with it. My parents brought me here when I was 13. Then I fell in love with it again when I was in college, and I came out to visit a friend. And then I got the job at KCAL Channel 9 working alongside the one and only Jerry Dunphy. And of course, I didn't realize at first what a legend he was here in LA. We worked together at the Paramount Studios. We had a lot of fun. We would go, one of the things about Jerry, he loved to have a good time. We would go dancing. Honestly, it was the best job I ever had. I felt like I had just arrived. I didn't know how I got so lucky. I was working on the Paramount Studios a lot. Jerry Dunphy was my co-anchor. We would go out and dance, a group of us at night, because we were all hired at the same time by Disney. Disney had bought the channel and just did a whole bunch of hiring. And a friend of mine, David Goldstein, who I work with in New York, had gotten the job first. He recommended me. And we honestly, we won a lot of awards, Golden Mikes and local Emmys, and we had a great time. And it was just, when I look back on my career, some of the most fun that I've ever had. So it was great working with your dad, suffice it to say. Now, you're back. Okay, tell us what you're doing now.
Okay, so now it's your preference. Again, you can either do an organic canned paste of tomatoes, or I prefer fresh, personally, for me. So I went ahead and chopped up the tomatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and put those in as well. I'm going to add those in.
Okay.
Now the onions are starting to get translucent, and that's what you want because they'll be nice and soft. And honestly, you really, for those out there who want something simple, this is so simple because it's not something that you constantly have to necessarily monitor. So that's why I say it's so family friendly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and I chopped up my mushrooms. I'm gonna go ahead and add those and let those begin to cook. So dump all those in. Yeah. This is just something that I absolutely love, and I find it to be so simple and so hearty. And this is what I love doing with my clients. I love helping them to really find simple meals and easy ways to cross over to a more plant-based, whole foods diet. Lifestyle is a preference word for me because I don't like the word diet. But yeah.
No, I agree. It is a lifestyle, and you know, there's a lot that we can do because there's tens of thousands of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains, and there's only about 6 animals that we eat on a regular basis. We don't eat them, but that the society eats. And this dish, this coconut curry lentil soup, is packed with protein from the lentils. 25%, more than 25% of lentils are protein. And then the mushrooms have a lot of protein too. So this is a perfect example of a hearty meal that's packed with protein, but none of the bad cholesterol that you get from eating animals. So let's go back to Erin Dunphy in the kitchen.
Hi guys, welcome back. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to get a little liquid going. So you can pick your favorite brand. Sprouts has one of my favorite brands. Whole Foods has some of my favorite brands. I prefer, when possible, to do everything organic. So, and maybe lower on the sodium as well. But this is veggie broth. So honestly, choose the one that's your favorite. I found one in my local market by me that was organic. And you will use all 32 ounces of it.
Oh, wow.
Add it to what you already have going on over here. So I'm going to pour this in, and then I'm going to bring you closer for a look.
Wow, veggie broth. That's great. Yeah.
So good. So good. So let me bring you over.
Okay, great. I love it. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic.
So this is what we have so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then next, I'm going to add in the lentils. Now, this is another preference. if you're on the go and you're a busy mama, or you're just, you work a lot and you don't have a lot of time, if you want to save time, I always recommend these. These steamed lentils are awesome. They're already prepared for you, prepackaged. And if you're super sensitive to wheat, I am as well, and I'm okay with them. It just depends, again, preference. If not, you can always get your own just dry lentils and throw them in, and then just let it cook a little longer until the lentils become soft. But for today's purposes, I went ahead and I did the prepackaged, and this is what they look like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can use whatever kinds of lentils, like there's different kinds of lentils that have different colors and shades, and you can use whichever ones you prefer.
Yes, I prefer red lentils. I don't usually tend, for this dish, I don't usually tend to use green. That's the only one I'd say I haven't really tried in this, but really you can use any and all. And all.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump all of these in.
How old is your son?
He just turned 3 in July.
Oh my gosh. and he's eating plant-based.
Yes. Yeah. Since he was born.
Oh, wow. See, kids are so healthy plant-based. You know, when people get concerned about that, what I like to say is, look, 99.9% of the kids are not plant-based, and they've got type 2 diabetes that they're getting at young age, and they're suffering from all sorts of ill health effects. So this is a healthy way to go for the kids.
That's how I learned. I learned the hard way. And honestly, I only wish I went vegan sooner. And I'm so thrilled that I'm able to do that for my son and give my son that gift, because I spent my younger years very sick, dairy and all those things. I didn't know that were making me sick. I had sinus infections, probably chronically twice a month. I had all the things. So I feel very fortunate that I'm able to give that gift to my son. And he's just thriving. So
wonderful. Thank you.
It's funny because I feel like every time I take him, they're expecting him to be deficient in something, and they're always shocked that he's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of brainwashing in our culture from people who are making a lot of money off of animal agriculture, that in turn is destroying our environment by causing deforestation. You know, at least 20 times the size of Manhattan has been destroyed in the Amazon for cattle grazing this year alone. And look at the wildfires. So we're destroying the planet mostly for cattle grazing and to grow crops to feed farm animals, because there are so many more farm animals than there are humans. I mean, we use just this much, for example, of the soy produced, 75% goes into farm animals. So it's bad for the climate. It's bad for our health. And look at these great alternative dishes and just try it.
So simple. Okay, so Jane, what I just did is I added, so Simply Organic curry powder. I just went ahead and added that in.
Okay.
Now, it's, again, a preference on flavor. I added 2 tablespoons because I really like that curry. But if maybe you're not so into too much curry, that's okay. You can also alternate. If you want to add spice, you can. I would recommend flakes, and that's when you would add that in and just stir it and let it all absorb. So I'm going to add spinach now, which is just roughly chopped.
And of course, you know, you could use frozen spinach, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. This dish is so versatile. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes spinach lasts longer in the freezer, and I love using it in my smoothies, my soups. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over. I'm going to let this cook in a bit, and I'm going to bring you over so you can take a peek.
I like it. You're very organized. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, that's a hearty soup. That's the kind of soup that'll get you through not just fall, but winter too.
And you know what's so great, Jane, about this soup? This soup is great because you can freeze it and save it for leftovers.
Oh,
you bring it out, you're short on time, you don't have a lot of time, freeze it. Just to make sure it's a tight lid, you know, and freeze it. It just works out to be so awesome.
Now, let me ask you a quick question. If you wanted to do all this in a what do you call those instant pots, which I'm looking at right over here. Could you do that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Because that's always a good option.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and let this cook down a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and add in, again, I love my soups to be creamy. If you don't, use coconut milk. If you're okay with creamier, I like to add milk and cream.
When you say milk, you're talking plant-based milk, obviously.
I am talking plant-based milk.
Yes.
What other?
Well, I know, but so many people, they associate, of course, cow's breast milk when you hear the word milk. So I always like to emphasize that we're talking plant-based milks.
Yeah, no, plant-based, I cannot do anything else. They make me the other milks make me very sick.
Yeah, okay. Very sick. What are you holding in your hand?
So I've got, this is, again, Trader Joe's, because it was local and easy.
I use Trader Joe's.
Organic coconut cream. So good. So easy. I just transferred it to this, so it looks nice and pretty. But I just wanted you to be able to see what it is that I put in there. You can use other types, but I really have grown fond of this one because you taste the amazing coconut flavor, which is so needed in the coconut curry lentil soup. But I also love how creamy it is. And I mix it a little bit, stir it around, and it's so delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this whole thing in there.
Wow. Now, how many people does this feed?
Oh my gosh. It feeds a lot. It depends if you're going back for seconds. I usually do. But it feeds my family of 3. But then I usually have some left over for my mom, who says hi, by the way.
Oh, yes. Hello. Hello.
And I usually have leftovers for at least maybe 3-4 servings of leftovers.
Wow, that's good.
So, yeah, absolutely. This is coconut milk, so it's separated a little. Once I pour it in, it will all combine again. But this is the coconut milk. So I used cream and milk because, again, I love mine to be creamy. So I'm going to add this as well. Okay, I'm going to bring you over. Let's get in there.
Wow, look at that. There's the coconut. Ooh, this looks so, I would dive through the screen and grab it.
I know, I wish you were here.
Oh, well, someday.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let this all continue to cook down. And then the last thing that I'm going to add in is nutritional yeast. You can grab nutritional yeast from multiple places. Sprouts, Whole Foods, they all have great different brands. I'm just going to use this because it's what I have on hand today. And I'm just going to put a little bit in there because it is, again, more protein. So I know the biggest question I get is, but how do you get protein?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a crazy question because where do the animals get protein? They get protein from what they eat. So we just eat around the animals instead of eating what they eat.
Exactly. And I'm just going to, I lost my little scoop. So I'm just going to go ahead and just.
Okay. Well, nutritional yeast is also very good for you. And it's filled with vitamin B12, which is always good if you're on a vegan diet. It's always good to have that B12.
Absolutely. So good. So I just sprinkled a little bit on top, but I can get crazy with nutritional yeast.
Me too. I need to go to Nutritional Yeast Anonymous.
Yeah.
Look at that. Wow, that looks so delicious. And we've got the lentils and the mushrooms and the spinach and the coconut cream and the onions and the garlic. Wow. What? Ginger. And the curry powder. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure the aroma is amazing.
So good. So good. Absolutely. So I'm just going to continue to mix this. I'm going to continue to stir. And I'm going to allow everything to really just simmer down and also just really blend in flavor and get all even more delicious. Let the flavors blend in and allow them to really just combine and
Wow.
yeah.
Now, how long do you cook it for? Because I have a tendency, my personal problem in the kitchen is, aside from burning everything, is that I have a tendency to cook things too long. Like I'm on my phone, or I get a call, and the next thing you know, the pan is burned or the bowl is burned. So how long do you cook this?
I would say about 20 minutes. Just let it simmer though, on low setting.
Wow.
So as you see here,
Mm.
I'm on low.
Mm-hmm. Key, because I have put everything on high and then I walk away. That's a bad plan. And I have to learn, because I don't know why I could keep doing it, but don't do what I do.
So let me just show you too. I just went and switched it because I had it on high to start, and now I have switched it to low.
Oh, there it is. It's on low. So, wow. Tell us about yourself. What has your journey been? Because again, this is so much fun to see you after. I went to KCAL and worked with your dad in 1990 through 2000. The 2000s, early 2000s, and sadly, your dad has passed away around that time. And we then reconnected at the KCAL 30th anniversary party not so long ago, right before the pandemic hit. It was one of the events I went to. Yes. And we were talking, and I said, Erin, and you said, I'm plant-based now. And I'm like, I'm vegan too. And so here we are. So what was your journey, if you could tell us?
Absolutely. So my dad, you knew my dad. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's see
Irish.
One more time. There it is.
Irish meat potatoes. So the thought of me going vegan was like mind blowing. And I think my parents thought that maybe I was not going to live. And they just didn't understand it, which is funny because now my mom has really shifted more to a plant-based diet as well.
Woo!
Really helped her health too. I know. But for me, I was chronically sick. As I said earlier, I was tested for everything. I was taking all these specialists, gastroenterologists, ENTs. No one could figure out what was going on with me. I had acid reflux, IBS. I had nodules in my stomach and colon area. I had asthma. I had sinus issues, chronic sinus infections, and they just kept kind of like throwing prescriptions and different things at me and having me be allergy tested, and nothing was working. So my mom was like, that's it. We're taking you to a naturopath. And I was like, okay. And upon my first visit, he was like, you can either be medicated for the rest of your life, or you can give up dairy. Yeah. I was like, oh no, my gosh, can I do this? Mm-hmm. And of course, here I am, 16 years later, and I've never been happier. And I also will say that honestly, when I was younger, my mom will attest to this. I used to spit meat out. I didn't want it. I used to hide it. I used to give it to the dogs. I used to,
people say that.
And I just it never resonated with me, but it was what I knew, and it was what was accepted. So when I started really looking into, I had always wanted to go vegan. And, when I turned 18, that was going to be a thing, and, it wasn't until I realized how sick I was. I just didn't even know how well my body was designed to feel, Jane. I had no idea until I gave it all up. I lost 20 pounds.
Wow.
I lost 20 pounds. All of the medications gone. And it's what worked for me, obviously, but I just, it completely transformed my life. And I was able to, I rescued animals. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm eating them. I love animals, yet I'm eating them. So it didn't correlate for me. And everything has changed. Everything is vegan for me. And honestly, it's the best change I've made. And then my journey into health and wellness, I did 500 hours of yoga teacher training. I just graduated from the the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and now I'm working towards my Ayurvedic doctorate.
Woo! You go, girl.
Yeah.
Wow, how fantastic. That is incredible. Well, this warms my heart because I'll be honest with you. I went vegan 24 years ago, approximately, when a former cattle rancher turned vegan activist named Howard Lyman, who was the one who went on Oprah, and I remember met more than 2 decades ago now, I believe it is. He basically revealed the horrors of the industry, and she said that just stopped me cold from eating another burger, and the cattlemen sued her, and then she had to move her show to Texas, and she won. And he became famous for 15 minutes, and he walked into the studio and at Paramount Studios where Jerry and I did the show, and I interviewed him, and afterwards he walked up to me and he said, I hear you're a vegetarian. And I was a vegetarian, but I ate plenty of dairy. He said, do you eat dairy? And I kind of hung my head because he had just told me about the babies being ripped from their mothers, and the mothers cry and scream, and the babies scream, and the boys, they don't need them, so they either shoot them or put them in veal crates or leave them on dead pot. I mean, it was just a horror show. And when I hung my head and said yes, he went like this, and he said right at my nose, liquid meat. And I went vegan at that moment. And what was really funny was that I used to love cheese. Often people say, well, the one thing I could never give up is cheese.
Same.
It's addictive. It has a morphine-like quality in the actual cheese so that baby calves will suckle on their mothers. And this is what nature created for calves, not for humans. You know, it takes an animal that's maybe 60 pounds and turns the animal into 600 pounds in a short period of time.
Just like us eating.
Those are growth hormones. Yeah. And, 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. And there's a connection to those growth hormones. So about a month later, I was on Robertson Boulevard having lunch, and some waiter or whatever accidentally put Parmesan cheese in my salad, and I took a bite and I spat it out. It was grotesque tasting. I went, ugh. Well, that was what I used to love. It takes 28 days to put your taste buds back to factory settings. Sometimes it takes a little bit more, but at least 28 days. That's why rehab is 28 days, at least. But that's the minimum. So give it a couple of weeks, give it a few weeks, because once you get rid of it, your taste buds go back to factory settings and it tastes gross.
You know what is amazing about that, that you say that, Jane? Because I couldn't agree more. The same thing happened with me. And honestly, there were so many foods that I didn't like before I went vegan. And once I went vegan, I fell in love with everything. I just fell in love with all new foods and vegetables and fruits. And I mean, I always love fruits, but vegetables and things that honestly before I wasn't interested in because my palate was just so messed up. I couldn't taste things properly. And once I gave up dairy, it was like a whole new world. And you're so right. Like, to change a pattern of anything, mindfulness, anything, it takes at least 28 days to make a difference. And I just back you on that 100% because
and you also don't have all the suffering of, the average person kills about 10,000 animals over their lives to eat. And these are all individuals, and you're putting all that inside your body. That right there, not good for your health, not good for the planet. And a lot of that,
it goes into your food. I truly believe that goes into your food. What you are consuming is going into you as a person, as an emotional being. And I truly believe that. Yeah, and we consume what we are. We take on what we're consuming, what we're eating.
Exactly, and so many people suffer from depression. Watching the news, which I do at night, and I see the commercials, and it's all like one disease after the next. I'm like, wow, when you think of animals in nature, when they're not being poisoned by humans, they don't have a lot of ill effects. They live healthy lives. This idea that we're identifying with our illnesses, and it's sort of like our badge, like I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. That's a whole twisted, sick system. The trouble is you can't make money off of preventing an illness that never happened. That's a big problem. Our whole system, our messed up healthcare system is designed, let's get people sick on the bad food, and then we'll spend money and we'll make profit fixing them. There's great movies like What the Health that focus on that. And now that you have films like Game Changers, where some of the world's top athletes are on a strictly plant-based diet and winning all sorts of sports accolades and awards and breaking records, there's really no excuse. But I just want to say, I'm so excited to hear your story. I'm so happy for you. Wow. Will you come back again?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I would be honored. And let me show you just before we go.
Yeah. Whoa, that looks so good. That looks so good. I think I'm going to make myself a combo. I think I've got everything. I've got the frozen spinach. I've got the lentils, maybe a little canned lentils, but that's okay. They still got plenty of protein. I've got the garlic. I've got the onions. I know what I'm having for dinner tonight. Erin Dunphy, this has been so delightful. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been an honor, and I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Yay! It's so much fun. Thank you. I'm so glad that we reconnected at the KCAL 9 30th anniversary party. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Jane.
Oh, take some pictures. So we want to put it on our Jane Unchained.
I will.
Thanks, everybody. Was really great for me personally catching up with Erin. What a wonderful person. Made it really reminded me of the old days, as it were, working with her dad. What a fun time. What an honor. Watch us every 12:30 Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, every day of the week on Jane Unchained Facebook.